Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a plain and simple book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse study through the entire Bible. We are in chapter, Luke's Gospel, chapter 9. Let's see here. They're coming on here. Oh, okay. Luke's Gospel, chapter 9. All right. So, all right, I see it now. So again, I was kind of fixated on chapter. I was fixated on the appearance of Moses and Elijah appearing to Jesus um, in the transfiguration there. And again, so there's a lot of stuff. I was just fixated on the fact that here we have a glimpse really into life after death. In other words, when we die, what happens to us. And I do say it's a glimpse, but this, to me, vivid picture of Moses and Elijah shows that they are fully aware, fully active, fully cognitive. Um, Put it like this, so wherever they are, right? So anyway, let's get to it. Because I'm going to move on. I'm going to force myself to move on. I could really stay on this. I could stay on this forever. And let me go back. I'm gonna start reading, and then I'll keep going. And like I said, I'm gonna force myself not to. I'm gonna force myself not to fixate on this. Anyway, after about 8 days after these words, he took along Peter, John, and James and went up to the mountain to pray. As he was praying, the appearance of his face changed, and his clothes became dazzling white. Suddenly, two men were talking with him, Moses and Elijah. This is just so fascinating here that they were talking with Jesus. Okay. Anyway, they appeared in glory and were speaking of his death. So that's, again, notice um, they were the very purpose for their being here. They just didn't show up. Notice they were speaking of his death. Kind of one of the words, though. I do one of the words that they spoke. Anyway, which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. Peter and those with him were in a deep sleep, and when they became fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men who were standing with him. So they, wow, there's three people here. And he says, and as the two men were departing from him, Peter said to Jesus, Master, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah, not knowing what he had said. Now, this is very interesting. It does kind of draw, a tabernacle was like a tent or a booth, okay? In the Old Testament, the tabernacle that Moses erected was really somewhat like a traveling temple. It was obviously it was constructed of curtains, rods, and the idea was it was erected. Now the priests, the Levites, who by that time God had called them as the tribe who would serve as the priest. In other words, if you were a priest, if you were in the tribe of Levi, there was only one job you had. One calling. You were a priest. So their job was to take care of the worship. And before the temple was built, which probably was some 500 years. You know, when you think about from Moses leading the people out into David, about 500 years. So, okay. So the tabernacle was the place, and especially in the wilderness, we see more of the tabernacle. We don't see the tabernacle. I don't think we ever see it at all in the book of Judges. And like I say, it wouldn't be until Solomon comes that he actually builds the temple, which is the structure, the building. Okay, but the temple was a portable tent. It was a kind of a fairly large tent, but that was the place of worship. It was, like I say, it kind of served as the temple. Okay, and that's where all of the priestly duties were performed. And here, and the reason I say again, so the tabernacle, that was the place of worship. So when Peter says, let's make 3 tabernacles, he's getting over into idolatry, because again, why would you want to make 3 tabernacles? Now, of course, God is merciful. God forgives our ignorance, our weakness. But so he blurts this out, and he says, hey, let's make 3 tabernacles. In other words, let's make 3 places of worship for you. For one for Moses and Elijah. Now again, how he knew specifically that it was Moses and Elijah, I can only surmise by revelation to unbeknownst to him. But anyway, so verse 34, while he was saying this, a cloud appeared and overshadowed them. They became afraid as they entered the cloud. Then a voice came from the cloud saying, This is my son, the chosen one. Listen to him. So in other words, don't focus on, especially man. You can say anything, any creation. Listen to my son. You can say only listen to my son. Some translations will kind of even say that. Only listen to them. Verse 36, after the voice had spoken, only Jesus was found. They kept silent, and in those days told no one what they had seen. So it's kind of interesting. Remember, Peter, James, and John, and this, of course, it would become known after the death of Jesus. Then the other 9 probably figured out, man, y'all saw a whole lot, right? Y'all saw a whole lot. So, I don't know why. I guess like Peter, James, and John, in a sense, you would say became the main disciples. You could say the leaders. I could say they saw more and heard more than any of the other 9 disciples. And I'm not for sure why. But, okay, verse 37. The next day, when they had came down from the mountain, a large crowd met him. Just then, a man from the crowd cried out, Teacher, I beg you to look on my son, because he is my only child. Often the spirit seizes him. Suddenly he shrieks and throws him into convulsions until he foams at the mouth. Wounding him, it hardly ever leaves. I begged your disciples to drive him out, but they couldn't. Now, this is very interesting. Okay? Notice he says, I begged your disciples to drive him out, but they couldn't. Well, if you will remember, right at the beginning of the chapter here, let's go back. Look at verse 1. Summoning the 12, he gave them power and authority over all the demons and power to heal. So now when we come down here, why couldn't they heal? Well, Jesus is going to tell us why they couldn't heal, but they should have been able to. He had given them authority. Okay, why couldn't they cast them out? Verse 21, Jesus replied, "You unbelieving and rebellious generation, how long would I be with you and put up with you? Bring your son here." As the boy was still approaching, the demon knocked him down and threw him into severe convulsions. Excuse me. But Jesus rebuked the unclean spirit and cured the boy and gave him back to his father. And they were astonished. They were astonished, all astonished at the greatness of God. So then he says, while everyone was amazed at all the things he was doing, he told his disciples, "Let these words sink in. The Son of Man is about to be betrayed into the hands of men." So again, notice he's going to constantly tell them of this before they, before Jesus dies. And again, they should know this. That's going to be the most interesting thing about the death. They should know this. They should know what is going to happen. But they did not understand the statement, and it was concealed from them, so they could not grasp it. And they were afraid to ask him about it. Now, they did ask him about why they couldn't cast the devil out. They did ask him about that. And what is interesting, Jesus said, because of their unbelief. And then he gets into some stuff that I think we dealt with that in Mark's gospel and Matthew, about why they could not cast them out. And again, it was their unbelief. Especially since he already told them that they had power to cast out the devil. They had power over these unclean spirits to cast them out. So, all right, verse 46. Then an argument started among them about who would be the greatest of them. Now, I always chuckle with this because one of the things that we see, is very human disciples. Okay, very human disciples. We see the disciples in all of their flaws. In other words, this is not a Hollywood kind of depiction where everybody always does what is right. Now we're going to see even more of this, but notice they're arguing, right? They're arguing, and that's so understand this. They argue over who was going to be the greatest. So they're actually sitting there going, no, I'm going to be the greatest. You're not going to be the greatest. I'm going to be the greatest. No, I'm going to be the greatest. So they're arguing over this. But then verse 44, but Jesus, knowing their thoughts of their heart, took a little child and had him stand next to him. And he told them, whoever welcomes this little child in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes him who sent me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes him who sent me. For whoever is least among you, this one is the greatest. So they're not through with this. We're going to see this kind of come up a couple more times in this gospel. I mean, in the gospel, but of course, and then at Jesus' most solemn time, they're going to be arguing about who's the greatest. So this it's not like they look and go, "Oh yes, Jesus, we humbly accept this." No, this hasn't gone away from them. We'll see this later, but it is funny how that again, they're very human. I'm going to say that. And I would say, prideful, sinful, they're human. So they're actually arguing about this. All right. Verse 49, John responded, Master, we saw someone driving out demons in your name, and we tried to stop him because he does not follow us. Don't stop him, Jesus told him, because whoever is not against you is for you. Now again, another astounding story here. And again, very human story, a very flawed human story. That they see someone, and here's why this is kind of interesting. And you see the mind of a religious person. John, he's the Apostle John, and of course, John certainly is one of the greatest apostles. He contributes to 5 of the books of the New Testament. And the Gospels, his 3 epistles, and then Revelations. So John has some stuff to contribute. Peter writes 2 epistles. But if you look at John's background, even when Jesus, and we're going to see this in the Gospel of John when we get there, John is a very religious person at the time. He's a devout Jew at the time that Jesus calls him to follow him. He's a devout Jew. And I say that because he's known among the priests. He's known around the temple. 6 of Jesus' apostles were very devout people. Remember, Jesus' brothers they were very devout Jews. They practiced the law. The 3 festivals that was commanded to attend every year, they attended them. Okay. So John, again, was a very religious person, but you see how flawed religion is. And this is the epitome of bad religion. What we see right here, this is the epitome of bad religion. That you're so focused on what you think is righteous, that even when you see something good, you don't recognize the good that God is doing. That's bad religion. And we have it even today. We have it today. The Pharisees were hypocrites, religious hypocrites, because all of the good that Jesus did, they go, well, he's not following us. He's not following us. And of course, their envy and jealousy move them to even lie, violate their own religious principles. And so the same thing, but John is blinded by his religion. Well, they're not following us. And yet, whoever this person was casting out a demon. Hey, we saw somebody driving out demons. So here's the point. Why would you stop him? Why would you stop someone who is doing good because he's not in your denomination, right? Because he's not following your traditions, not because he's not following your brand. And religion will always do that. Religion will always fail miserably at putting their practice over what is obviously good. I'll give you another example. I came up in the holiness, I was acquainted with the holiness church. And I could remember my brother-in-laws who were very holy, 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 holy. And so the holiness church, of course, the women can't wear pants, jewelry, and makeup. Well, I was married to their sister, and when she came out of the holiness church, she said, she came to, and by the way, despite me, you know, she came to the truth on her own through God. Okay, so she said, okay, I don't see anything wrong with wearing pants. She didn't see anything wrong with wearing makeup. She didn't see anything wrong with, wearing jewelry. Now her family did. And when she left their church, obviously they ostracized her and said, okay, she's not saved. And really when she started wearing pants, they really were like, okay, she's not saved. To the point she passed away. When she passed away, they kind of thought she actually went to hell. They grieved, over the fact that they thought that she went to hell. But here's the point: despite the fact that she never changed her character, she never changed her godly character. The only thing that she changed was their religious practice. She was still just as godly. She was still just, the godly woman that they always knew, but they don't see that. And that's the problem with religion, is that here you see John blinded by the fact that here the guy is doing good. Here the guy that's actually doing good and um, um, healing someone, right? Casting the devil out of someone. They go, oh, no, you got to stop that. That's the epitome of religion. All right, guys. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought, a comment, add it to the comments section below. All comments are welcome. I'll see you next time.